He is the guest star of this podcast because he's just like right in my lap right now.
Is that a dog or a cat? I can't remember.
A doggy.
Doggy dog.
He's a beagle.
Well, I used to know this little fat beagle. And fat beagles are the most adorable thing.
Yeah,
Fat
you're a chubby little beagle, aren't you?
Is there such thing as a non-fat beagle?
They're all fat.
They're all fat.
Yeah, yeah.
Baggy.
Little chubby little beagles.
beagles
They
are
look
fat.
like sausage casings. Little sausage casing dogs. Very cute.
And this is the Triple Friends podcast. Hello, everyone. We're ready to go, right?
No,
Well,
we're
yeah.
ready. I'm good.
Okay,
We gotta start.
we're starting now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Triple Friends podcast. I'm the one who speaks first, Jacob, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Daisy. I guess I speak second. Twitter @BoutMachines.
And I'm Tani, Twitter @Hangman Pages, and it's really up in the air whether or not I will make it to the end of this podcast. Because I am not well.
Tani is very sick right now, and us being the loving and caring co-hosts that we are, we forced her to do this anyway. Because we're here talking about the two jam-packed Grand Slam shows AEW put out this week, emanating from Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. Not New York City, fuck. It was New York, I don't care.
It was, right? It was in Queens. I don't know anything about, like, American geography, but I swear to God that's in New York.
I don't know the anatomy of New York, and that's going to show like it just has. But we're talking about the shows that took place there, and the match that everyone's been talking about because it was freaking amazing. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega.
For it to start off with this match was, first off, I wasn't expecting it. But in hindsight, it makes total sense, right? For it to be 30 minutes, I think this is the first TV match. I think they kind of like did it without informing anyone, I suppose, because you didn't want the audience to kind of feel like there was something off. But I'm pretty sure this is the first TV match that has a 30-minute time limit instead of a 20-minute time limit. But again, makes sense. They needed to do it. And I thought it was really good. Like, I could probably talk about it for an hour, but I'll let someone else have a go first. What were your guys' thoughts on it?
Well, going in, I called that it was going to be the opening match. I said it
You
the
did.
week before, and everyone was like, "No, you stupid fucking idiot! It's
Hey,
gonna be the
hold on 1 second. You didn't call it. You didn't call it. You said that you thought it was going to be because you heard it on a Fightful stream.
No, I did call it.
It wasn't your third eye wasn't opening.
I called it when it was first announced, and then I called it when it was revealed that Moxley and Kingston versus Suzuki Gun was going to be lights out, even though that wasn't the reason it went on first. I still called it at that point, and then I called it again because someone on Fightful said so. In fact, I called it 3 times.
Sure.
And then everyone on
what did he
Twitter was
say?
like, "Hey, shut the fuck up!" No,
No,
I'm not. I'm not
I
subtweeting you right
don't
now.
appreciate this.
You're
I don't
not the only
appreciate
one who
this.
told me to shut the fuck up.
I didn't say shut the fuck up.
You and many other people just got so mad at me for saying this
Oh
is. I had the audacity. I had the gall to say this was going on first, and it did.
God,
So that's a moral victory. And
I'll
this
give
match,
you that.
this match was so freaking good. It was pretty much everything you'd want it to be. It wasn't it established pretty much right off the bat that this is not your mama's Daniel Bryan match. This is a Bryan Danielson match. It started out with like 8 minutes of just kicking and chopping, and that was so good. Such good content. And then it just exploded into this back and forth bout of just hard hits, brutal falls, Snapdragon on the ramp, knees from like a mile away. And then they didn't even do the thing when it went to the time limit draw, which is another thing I called. It went to the time limit draw, but they didn't do the thing that I assumed they were going to do, where, like, Brian has Kenny in the LaBelle lock, and then, like, right before time goes out, he almost taps, but he doesn't. They just ended it. Like, they ended it as if the match wasn't coming to an end. They just started kicking and chopping each other with no end in sight until the bell rang, and even then they're just still going at each other. Brian still tries to lock in the LaBelle lock, and it ends brutally. It ends perfectly. Tani, what did you think of this match?
I accidentally missed the first 5 minutes of it because my alarm clock didn't go off, and I almost slept through Grand Slam.
Well, it was all kicks and chops.
A disaster, almost a disaster. I mean, I liked it. We all knew it was going to be an absolute banger. The two best in the world going at it. It was always going to be good. Two things that stood out to me a lot in this match. I really liked Brian's sell of the Snapdragon on the ramp, where he, like, slides back and starts twitching. I think no one sold it like that before, and it made it look really dangerous and really deadly, which is really cool because not a lot of people sell this, like, Kenny's more basic moves like the Snapdragon and V-Trigger like that. And I also liked, once again, Kenny trying and failing to do the Phoenix Splash, because it's funny every time. Tragic but funny.
There's so many great spots in this. I'm just remembering it as we talk about it. We actually got, like, normally when Kenny has a series of matches with someone, he'll, like, tease in the first few that, I'm going to hit a deadly Snapdragon off the top rope. And then in later matches, he will hit that move. But no, we just got one in this match. We just flipped Brian off the top rope.
So good.
We got the Daniel Bryan's running knee finisher reversed into a just beautiful looking, almost one-handed powerbomb, because Kenny basically just smacked him out of the air. There's so much chemistry in this match. Both people hit dives. Just like, we're talking about this match, but I still haven't even fully gotten over the fact that Bryan Danielson is even here. Like, right? That happened like 3 weeks ago. And now we're getting this match. Surreal.
Like, you're watching it happen and you're like, this isn't real.
That's not Bryan Danielson right there. I'm still sleeping. I
haven't seen Daniel Bryan in that form for so long. Like, he's always good. Even when he's not at his best, he's still very good. Because he's him. But I haven't seen him at that form in so long. So I'm really glad to see that apparently AEW has invigorated that back into him.
Bryan Danielson is just such a special performer. And the way... So Arthur Ashe, for this event, held 20,000 people around there. And all 20,000 of those people popped for Bryan Danielson spots. Not just the Daniel Bryan typical spots like the yes kicks and the running knee and all that stuff. They popped for the cattle mutilation, and they popped for his I have till 5 gimmick. Like, these people, whether they knew it going in or they just felt it off of the rest of the crowd that knew it going in, they knew that Bryan Danielson was someone different than just Daniel Bryan. They all knew that he was a level above what he was before.
Yeah, it's going to take me a while to get used to calling him Bryan Danielson. So apologies, listeners, for that one. Because I've known him as Daniel. Like, I've never really seen his stuff before WWE, and I've known him as Daniel Bryan.
It's been incredibly difficult. I started watching wrestling in
real difficult.
2010. My first, I saw him, I was a kid when he was in the original bad NXT, not the new bad NXT, the original bad NXT. And like, so I of course learned about Bryan Danielson all of these years later, but growing up, I knew Daniel Bryan as the geeky vegan that Michael Cole buried on commentary, and I was like, "Hey, don't be mean to that guy. He's just a little guy. You don't gotta be mean to him." And
Just a little boy.
little did I know, he was a crazy kick man.
He was just great. Like the underdog story that they built with him. Well, not really that they built, but he built for himself. It was really good. I was always quite partial to Team Hell No.
Team
I
Hell
really
No
liked them.
was a little treat for the time, wasn't it?
Oh, it was such a treat, like such an unusual pairing, but like it worked so well. But yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get used to saying Bryan Danielson, and so I see some people online get really like angry about people saying Daniel Bryan still, but like it's not that big of a deal. It's just like what you're used to.
You know, it would be easier if the name wasn't just switched around. Like
Yeah,
if you know his shoot name wasn't so close to the fake name that WWE gave him, it wouldn't get so mixed up in your mind so often. Because I did the same thing. Because I am like Tanya, where I only ever knew him as Daniel Bryan. So if you had some other random wrestling name that sounded completely different, it'd be so much easier. But I think I'm trying to do the Bryan Danielson thing, but I also might slip occasionally because it's really hard. Um, yeah. I mean, I had pretty similar thoughts on this match as you guys both did, so I don't even know if I have anything else to add to it. But it was really good, and it definitely was the loudest the crowd got the whole night. Which you can't blame them for that. It was the match that everyone sort of came to see. And I think they're probably a lot happier that match ended up happening compared to what was originally slated to happen, which would be Bryan Danielson debuting at Arthur Ashe, which I'm sure they would have loved. But the match is a little bit better, I think. Who doesn't want a match? Because I would. If I could choose, I'd want a match.
Yeah,
yeah. I wonder why plans changed.
because the
Pardon?
time was right.
I think I think it was I think they were saying that it was about COVID reasons. Like they were concerned about having to return to dailies, and they wanted to just get it out of the way so they didn't have any, don't have to cancel any shows or anything.
That is a big concern. So, listeners, get vaccinated. We are begging you. This is a pro-vax. I'm going to speak for everybody else on this podcast. Sorry, you don't get to argue with this, but this is a pro-vaccination podcast. Get vaccinated, please.
Geez, I didn't tell you guys that I'm vehemently anti-vax.
Oh no.
And that is
no.
the end of the Triple Friends podcast, everybody. Thanks for listening.
No, get vaccinated.
You're not actually, are you?
Get vaccinated, fuckers.
Get vaccinated, fuckers. I have a debilitating needle phobia. And I've got the first jab and I'm gonna get the second one. So if I can do it, you motherfuckers can do it. Get vaccinated. This is a PSA.
That's very true. Everyone listen to Tani. Can I ask you guys what you thought? Because I saw a lot of discourse online about, and forgive me if no one wants to talk about Dave Meltzer, but what did you guys think of the 5? Because personally, the 5-star rating that he gave it, I think that is great, and it leaves room for the bonus stars, which, like Jacob said, the match ended. There was no who's going to win. We can see who's going to win. It's obviously going to be Daniel Bryan moment. It was like, it still could be either of these guys. And so the implication that you get from that is we're going to have another match in the future that will probably be closer to 60 minutes. And if this match isn't rated a 5 and it's rated like a 7, then where the hell do we go from here? Did you guys agree with the 5?
I agreed with the 5.
Oh, I fully agree with the 5.
I would just like to say, I'm quite fond of Dave Meltzer. I don't agree with everything he says, obviously, because that's stupid. I'm not gonna sit around like sucking up to him or anything like that. But some people really do make him out to be worse than he is, which at the end of the day is just a journalist with opinions, as is all of them. But I'm quite fond of him.
Well,
I agreed. 5 was a good one.
The problem that people have with it that I've been saying is that his old uh Brian Danielson stuff doesn't have a 5 star when maybe it deserves it, but like the Meltzer star rating back then was a lot more strict, and also like, and then his stuff as Daniel Bryan, like, it was really good, but there's a lot of WWE baggage that comes along with WWE matches, and it doesn't fit what Meltzer, the person, the human being Meltzer, agrees as a 5 star match. So now people think, now that this match with Kenny Omega in AEW, it's literally his first match in the promotion. Everyone's like, oh, well, fucking course. Of course he gave that a 5 star. It's literally his fucking wet dream or whatever. It, like, that's why people are mad, and it's certainly a bit unreasonable, but I can't say there's not a logic to it.
There was definitely both things. Yeah, I was in specific because I've seen that, but I was specifically talking about, because I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I have seen a lot of people say that the 5 is too low, and that's what I was referencing there. But I also agree that is a bad take.
No, yeah, the 5 was perfect. It ended in a draw. I think 5 stars, at least in my opinion, is like, that is a baseline perfect match. And I think the 30-minute time limit was the perfect ending. I think everything that happened in the match was perfect, but it wasn't anything above perfect. So, yeah, 5 stars, perfect rating.
Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, it definitely was much better than the next match, which, while I still had a fondness for, it was MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. Are we good to talk about this one?
Do we want to talk about the CM Punk promo first, or do we want to talk about that when we talk about Hobbs?
I completely forgot. No, all good. Let's let's talk about the promos. See, this is the thing. When I think back on shows, I just remember the matches and the promos just fly out of my brain. So let's talk about that.
I think this was CM Punk's best promo in AEW so far. His first promo is when he debuted, was obviously iconic and will withstand the test of time forever. But this really felt like the first CM Punk promo, where he comes out to talk about Will Hobbs and the match he's going to have later on Rampage. And he just basically says, first of all, he says, I know a lot of people want me to be a heel, and that's coming, believe me. So that's something to look forward to. Unlike some people, he has no problem foreshadowing that he's going to be a heel.
Hey now, you watch your tongue.
We'll get to it.
I know what you're talking about.
We'll get to it.
You watch yourself. You watch yourself.
But he essentially comes out and he says, I should come out here and I should be really angry that Will Hobbs and Team Taz tried to put me through a table, but I'm not. When I walk through the curtain and I hear the fans and I hear my music and I just see everyone, I feel everyone's energy, I can't help but smile and I can't help but be happy. But I am mad that Will Hobbs tried to take that away from me. And I just think the passion that he showed in this promo and the subject matter and what he said, it really hit a good chord as far as a wrestling promo goes.
I have some very vital, just before Daisy goes into depth, I have a very vital opinion to add to CM Punk's promo.
Mm-hmm.
Very in-depth, very sophisticated opinion, which is that CM Punk's sexy.
Yeah.
CM Punk's sexy.
Yes. Very, very good insight.
Thank you.
Very good insight.
I've lost my train of thought now.
No thoughts, head full of CM
Punk's very important sexy contribution. What was I going to say? It was something on the lines of, oh yes, this was it. I'm very glad they put this here because CM Punk at this point is almost famous for spending a lot of time on his entrance, spending a lot of time talking. Obviously, got no problem with that. But it was the perfect spot because after the Kenny Bryan match, you got to have something to cool the crowd down because, whatever match is going after that is probably going to die. So I'd say Punk did an amazing job at sort of riling the crowd up again, and also giving them a bit of a break, because that's what was needed. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he ends the promo by basically saying, like, you know, Will Hobbs is. He says something like Will Hobbs is sleeping on the idea of CM Punk, or sleeping on the legend of CM Punk, but it's not my job to wake you up. It's my job to tuck you in. And on Rampage, I'm gonna make you go to sleep. And that's a badass line too. Like, everything about this promo was very crisp and just very on point, and other lingo.
Very sexy.
Very sexy. Now that we did that, now we can talk about Brian Pillman Jr. versus MJF, and I thought this match was fine.
I love Brian Pillman Jr. a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. I'm not gonna have many, like, sophisticated contributions to this podcast, I don't think, just because my head is full of snot. Literal snot. So, no thoughts, head full of who I like. But I really am fond of Brian Pillman Jr., and I'm so happy that he got this stage. And, you know, both of them are quite young, and they both got a ways to go, but from what I remember of the match, I just enjoyed it. Obviously, it's not going to be Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan, because neither of them are at that level yet, but I think it was a good, like, not a filler match to follow after that, but a good, like, cool down match after that. And crap, who won? It was MJF.
It was
wasn't
MJF.
It? Yeah.
MJF.
I
Yeah, he
definitely
submitted. I forgot about that. He submitted Brian. I like Julia's spots in it. Julia's spots in it were really good. She's a great character. And Brian Pillman's just such a believable and lovable babyface. Like, such an underdog. He's so easy to root for.
I actually went into this match fully expecting Brian Pillman to win. I had convinced myself, diluted myself, if you will, to believe that Wardlow was turning here. I felt like it would just be a nice little shock. I think they've done enough teasing of it that, like, if he did it, it wouldn't feel like it's out of the blue. And I don't know, I just felt like they were building up Brian Pillman to a decent win here. And the match was good. Like, it wasn't a bad match. It was the worst match on the show, but it was a match full of very, very good. It was a card full of very, very good matches. So I'm not, like, disappointed with how this match went, and I'm not, like, underwhelmed by it. It was just a very serviceable match. I am happy that Brian Pillman Jr. got this stage. I don't think he fully lived up to it, but I think that's something you have to work out with more experience. I'm glad they tested it at least.
Potential is there. The potential is there. He has not reached his ceiling yet, I do not think. The potential is there, and he's still young, and I personally believe there are shades of great, like, better things in him. Absolutely. He absolutely does have the Pillman genes as well. Yeah, I think he has the potential to be absolutely one of AEW's biggest baby faces, should they keep building him and pushing him. And he works so well with the Varsity Blondes, and I'm just, like, very happy that they're allowing him to have this stage and honor his father as well, because you can tell that's what he really wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to be his own character and his own person, away from his father, while also honoring him. And I don't know, I don't have much to say about the technical aspect of it. I enjoyed the match, and I enjoyed Brian having this stage, and I enjoyed Julia's spots, and MJF is always fantastic, and the Wardlow heel turn is not heel turn, the other one. the Wardlow face turn is definitely coming because I think we said this on one of the last podcasts. When we talk about long-term storytelling in AEW, we always bring up like Hangman and the Elite and all that, which is very fair. That's their I don't know what the word is, but
Yeah.
that's their big one. That is their
Magnum opus.
That's their crown jewel. Their magnum opus. That's it.
There you go.
Their crown jewel, their magnum opus. But I think one of the underrated ones that we don't talk about enough is the long term story of Wardlow getting fed up with MJF. And so I'm looking forward to it. Days.
Yeah, before we move on, my highlights from this match, because I did have a couple. This isn't necessarily a highlight, but I did really appreciate how Brian came out confident. This was absolutely his biggest match in his AEW career and probably in his entire career. He's never had a stage this huge, and he came out there ready to go. He did a fantastic job of playing into the crowd. One bit that I absolutely loved, which I watched with Tiny, and I think we all laughed when it happened. It was that classic like spot where people are sort of running the ropes back and forth and like dodging each other. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but Brian Pillman Jr. just kind of dodged out of the way. He had this big like cheesy smile, and it was really fun. I really liked that. And to be honest, I've seen. I think the general consensus is that maybe Brian Pillman Jr. dragged this match down, but I think they both did the best they could. And MJF is very, very protected in AEW to the point where he's probably only had under a dozen matches. I could be wrong with that, but he has barely had any.
As far as singles matches, yeah.
Singles. Because he did have that tag on with Jericho. He has been wrestling, and I know he's been training since he was like 6 years old, from like a really young age. So I know he's very experienced, but something about his matches, they never hit right with me. He might be one of my favorite heels on the planet. I find him so entertaining. But there's something about his match style that doesn't click well with me, and I never really rate them very highly. I think he also has a ways to go, but I think overall they both did a great job, and Brian Pillman Jr. honestly exceeded my expectations with how well he did. And I'm very happy with it. Yeah, I obviously, like Jacob said, it wasn't the best match on the card, but I think it served its purpose, and it was really good. Yeah.
I do just want to ask something that I just thought of, and I haven't really seen discourse about it online, which is, I guess, a good thing. But in the lead up to this match, there was a lot of very controversial things said by MJF to Brian Pillman Jr. about his family. And what do you guys think of Brian Pillman not really getting anything back on that? And it doesn't really feel like this feud is continuing. I mean, it might, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
No, I didn't really think about that too hard, to be honed.
The hard-hitting questions.
I don't know, actually. Didn't even think about that. I feel like he did, but I can't explain how he did, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, because it's almost like what he got back was a really big opportunity, which might not sound right, but in many ways it didn't feel like he lost out even in a loss. I think because not many, or except for Jacob, I'd say no one was expecting him to win, unless there was like something was going to happen. But he wouldn't be expected to win this match. So yeah, I thought his prize was, I suppose, having a really great opportunity, and yeah. Might not sound right, but yeah.
I think he did get something out of looking good against MJF. That's definitely, you could say that's something that he did get elevated from that. I was just wondering, because I'm actually surprised, like, with how much people enjoy sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say nitpicking things, because obviously the complaints, if people are uncomfortable with what MJF is saying, that's valid, but it feels like there was a lot of people not okay with what he was saying, and I'm just surprised that there's not more discourse coming out about it, being that Brian Pillman didn't really get anything back from him. So, I don't know. Thought I would bring it up. Now, the next match.
Yeah. What was the next match? I have the short-term memory of Dory.
It was Cody versus Malachi next.
Yes.
I'm not sure if we've missed any like promos around. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Next match was Cody.
Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black, Part 2. This was obviously built up to with Ahsoka from the Star Wars universe jumping on Malachi's back before Cody Rhodes' return. So before we get into this match, I do want to ask, because we didn't review it last week, obviously. What did we all think of Cody Rhodes coming back to save what's her real name? I can only think of
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson. Cody
Miss
Rhodes
Claire
returned
Temple from Daredevil.
Cody Rhodes returned to save Rosario Dawson, but not his own brother or students.
And that is because Rosario Dawson is pretty.
Are you saying that Lee Johnson isn't pretty?
He's not Rosario Dawson levels of pretty.
Hard disagree. Hard disagree.
He's not Ahsoka Tano.
But yeah, this match, I'll let you guys get into it a little bit, but it was very overbooked, but I don't think in a way that made it not good. All of the little booking things were pretty entertaining. All the shenanigans from the Rhodes side of things, like they were the ones pulling shenanigans. Not shenanigans, but they were the ones that would like get up on the apron or get in the ring and taunt Malachi Black to let Cody do a sneak attack. They definitely were leaning on that fact a little bit. And yeah, the thing coming out about this is Cody Rhodes turning heel?
Yeah. I'm so fucking hyped. I will pass the phone over to Daisy in 2 secs. I just want to say that, and this is apparently an opinion that doesn't carry, and I was surprised by that, but I love this match. I enjoyed the hell out of this match. I thought both of them had extremely good chemistry. They both were really good in it. I liked all, but then also I'm a huge heel Cody Rhodes fan, and like so all the little sneak peeks of him going heel, including him, like I feel like, cause I was on watching it with Daisy and another friend of ours, who, by the way, we should definitely get him on as a special guest on this podcast at some point. He's so funny. But shout out to Shreyas, the homeboy. But we all screamed when he pushed that ref. Like, we cheered, because it's like, we have wanted this for so long. And as soon as he did that, it was like, oh, this bitch going evil. And like having Brandy come in and do shenanigans as well. It's like, also I've missed Brandy a lot. It was great to see her. She looked great. I loved her bit with Malachi jumping in and flipping him off and Malachi laughing. I thought that was really great. I loved the outcome of it, which we were all surprised by, I think. We didn't think Malachi was going to win, because we'd resigned ourselves. But him winning was the way it should have been, and a great surprise, and the perfect ending. And I enjoyed the hell out of this match. I thought it was really, really good. Easy, the Malachi Black Lawmaster.
Okay. Right, so I'll go back for a second to what Jacob said before, because I think it's really interesting. About Cody coming back, I think it was last week, to save Rosario Dawson, and not saving his Nightmare family. I find that really interesting, because it was the other day when Tony Khan was on Busted Open Radio, and he kept referencing Cody as like Hollywood. He's Hollywood Cody now. So I find that an honestly really, which I didn't even think of until Jacob said it, a really interesting observation that he would come back and save the Hollywood actress. over his wrestling buddies. I think that's like, I didn't even realize that was maybe planting a seed, because when I watched that the first time, I found it really stupid and cheesy, and I honestly found it kind of embarrassing that they even like, I don't know, that they went that direction. The fact that they announced the match after that Dustin Malachi match like the week before, and Cody like didn't even show up to like say hello, didn't show
No,
up
he was
to...
in the boot.
What?
He was in the boot. Remember? He was very small in the boot.
He's in the fucking boot.
Tiny in the boot, like an evil little goblin.
He might have been in the boot, but he didn't care enough to like run his tiny little legs up and like, I don't know, crawl up Malachi's nostril or something. So like there's something fishy going on here that he would come and save. Yeah.
From Tommy's fucking nose hairs.
He was gonna...
I don't think he was, though. I think he, like, I don't know, he went straight into Rosario's pocket because that's all he cared about, was his big Hollywood friends, because he's Hollywood Cody and he's evil now. I don't care what anyone says, that's what's happening. Anyway, onto the match. So first off, comes out with this big fuck off cape on. It's about 20 feet long. That might even be underselling it. It could have been 50 feet long. It was insane. It was like the longest fucking cape I'd ever seen in my life. He came out with that, and the first thing that we sort of thought was, this is a little bit Healy, isn't it? This is a little bit extra, isn't it? But like at that point, you don't know yet, because the match hasn't started, and it's just kind of like one of those things where you can convince yourself you're overthinking, which I might be able to still... Yeah, typical. It feels like typical Cody, because everything feels like typical Cody. What I expect heel Cody to be in the following, well, in the next few months, is typical Cody, but like dialed up by 1,000. So I think that's why people may be struggling to see it. But anyway, match was really good. I thought that it was great that Malachi had some time to actually pull out a few interesting moves. I really liked the Black Mist, the Buddha Mist. I thought that was cool. I know a lot of people don't like that stuff, but I liked it. And I appreciated the, it might be sort of a regular thing to work a leg or whatever, but it works more with Cody working Malachi's leg so much. That's what he uses to wrestle with. He uses his legs. So that near fall, after he'd been like fucking with Malachi's leg for the past 5 minutes, he hits a cutter on Malachi, and then he does the crossroads. You can hear the crowd just like boo so loudly. It was a boo as soon as the first like count happened, because everyone thought that was the end of it. So it was really wonderful to be that convinced that Cody was going to win and be that devastated by it, that when Malachi kicked out, it was like amazing cheers. It was amazing. It was so good. Yeah, the match overall, I really, really enjoyed. Jacob might be right in saying that it was a little bit overbooked, but I enjoyed it. It to me, it felt like a pay-per-view match, which I think a lot of pay-per-view matches, they can be a little bit overbooked and have those sort of extra bits in. And the right guy won. The camera work at the end was really cool, where he was like laying on the ramp. That was awesome. And yeah, I appreciated Brandy coming back, and I am totally convinced. No one can say otherwise. I don't care what you say. Write in the comments if you disagree, but Cody's turning heel. He's already a heel. It's happening.
One of the things that has convinced me the most, and this is because I know Cody is a huge comic book nerd. He's a huge superhero nerd. And so am I. I'm a huge comic book nerd too. And when he came out in that, I'm happy you mentioned the cape days, because when he came out in that cape, and I went, oh my god, he's leaning into the Homelander things. He's leaning into the Homelander meme. And I just had a look at his Twitter profile, and yeah, his Twitter icon at the moment is deadass. It's Homelander. Like the blonde, the cape, like the dark mist in the background. It's Homelander. Or as our friend Shreyas put it as well, it's very Superman Injustice, where if you don't know the Injustice storyline, Superman goes insane and becomes insanely evil and becomes this massive fascist, but thinks that he's still doing the right thing. But he's absolutely leaning into the Homelander meme, And Cody's not an idiot, and at the very least he knows his superhero stuff and he knows his comic book stuff and he knows that Homelander is a real bad guy. So for him to lean into that, it's like, oh yeah, no, this bitch going evil. This bitch absolutely going evil.
Yeah, the amount that he got booed was just, it was unexpected. Like, if you're on Twitter, that we're getting really tired with his babyface shtick. But like, even as recently as Homecoming, AEW Homecoming, at Daly's Place, and I guess maybe because it was Daly's Place and that's such a home for Dynamite and AEW, maybe the crowd reacted a certain way. But like, when he was faking retiring, which I will stand by the fact that even that was a heel move, manipulating your fans' emotions into thinking you're retiring, that's a dick move. But the reaction he got was such a babyface reaction. And even though Malachi Black was over in the build-up, he still got booed at that event. The amount that Cody Rhodes was booed here at Grand Slam was insane. Like, it was deafening boos. Everyone was against him. Everyone was on the side of Malachi Black, who is this evil cult leader man. I guess he's not a cult leader yet. He doesn't have a cult, but he's a cult with an O. And he's just like, no one wanted him to win. Every time he got close to winning, everyone would boo louder. Every time Malachi Black kicked out, they would cheer louder. And like, you have to think the character of Cody Rhodes is like hearing this, and the man behind the character Cody Rhodes is hearing this and thinking, I know exactly what these fans want me to be, and so I'm not going to give it to him. And that goes along with what he was saying, where he is never going to turn heel, which is a complete pro wrestling move to say, no, I'm never going to turn heel. I'm always going to be on the side of the fans and the children and the whatnot. And that's the perfect setup to then be like, nah, fuck them. And when that happens, it's going to get a massive reaction because of how he's building it now and how much he's almost pulling away from that idea. If he's just turned heel today, everyone would be like, yeah, he's turned heel. But if he really milks this babyface heel mix that he has going, the reaction's going to be so much stronger when he eventually turns.
I totally agree. You know, the thing that I really liked about that interview that you brought up, because when it happened, it was pre Grand Slam, and so I read it, and my brain went into like mini panic mode where I was like, oh god, he can't be this stupid. Oh no, have I been wrong this whole time? Oh no, he's just gonna stay face. Why is he like this? But looking back on it, I think like the quote from Cody is like, I would never set that example for the kids. I would never do that. I would never be a heel because it's bad for the kids. And it's like, he's a little bit of an idiot, but he's not that much of an idiot. Like, he grew up in the wrestling business and he knows more than he knows better than any of us that like heels are a very important part of the wrestling ecosystem. And I think that he, outside of kayfabe, is very aware of how important they are. And he wouldn't diminish their importance like that if he was being like real about it. And so I think now, looking back on that, it sort of solidifies it for me more, because like I don't see Cody talking like that if he was being serious. And from now on, I really like the what's it, Batman? Did you say Batman Injustice?
Superman.
Superman Injustice.
Sorry, I don't know comic books.
No, you're okay.
I don't know anything about comic books.
It was a video game first. Excuse you.
I'm sorry. I don't know anything. But I really liked that idea. I remember hearing Shreya say it when we were watching, and I was like, oh my god, that is exactly what I want. I want Cody to just think he's the best guy ever. Be this like huge over the top like persona, like comic book, almost like political guy. And I want the crowd to start, which they already have, clearly. The crowd needs to like naturally start to dislike him, which they already have. But I find that the concept of that, I find that so much more interesting, so much more engaging than I would a simple heel turn where it's like, oh, he's a bad guy now. because he says something mean. Like, there was plenty of people on the internet post this match arguing with us heel Cody Rhodes supporters, saying like, we didn't even do anything heely. He was being normal the whole match except for when he pushed the ref, and it's like, this is what you're not getting. That's what he wants you to believe. Maybe I'm tinfoil hatting right now. I'm in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Tinfoil Hat, and I have it on my head.
Hell yeah!
Maybe, maybe I'm being crazy.
No,
but this
you're
just
not.
feels like what is happening. Like, I can't shake it now. This is it. He's becoming a heel, and I think it's going to become more and more apparent as we go on. But that was like the first proper good sign beyond like sort of like hints and like maybes. I felt like that match kind of like solidified it 100% for me.
Before we move on, just to solidify this again, I would like to read this tweet from Cody that I just saw, where some guy tweeted, "Has Cody Rhodes turned Hollywood?" Because there was an interview with Arn Anderson where he said right now Cody is just too Hollywood. So like Arn is kind of beefing with Cody, and Cody responded with, "Oh Dave, Arn Anderson can do and say whatever he wants. That's the reason he's the coach."
The man, the heel. I've said...
And then he follows it up with nothing but love, and then this whole thing about like outside commitments weren't the reason I took the L. He spit in my face and then stacked me with the pin. Like, so he's beefing with his coach and like dismissing his coach and all that stuff, and been like, "Oh, Malachi cheated," so like cheated and stuff. So he really is going for the full on like he thinks he's the good guy kind of thing, like, but it's carefully constructed to be like, no, he's the big heel. And it's also because of the fact him and Lee Johnson are versing to at least Dante Martin, big babyface, this week, I guess.
Well, I've said since day one, like literally day one of AEW, Cody Rhodes knows that he is not Dusty Rhodes. He realizes that he is the son of Dusty Rhodes, which carries its own gimmicks and its own... He doesn't need to be the son of the plumber, because the son of the plumber is a very different character. He can be heel because he believes he deserves that legacy of his father. And when he was feuding with Anthony Ogogo, and when he just randomly adorned himself the American Dream for one night, at that point I was like, okay, this is really stupid, because you haven't really built to that. And that Ogogo feud was the point where my faith in Cody Rhodes turning heel wavered a bit, because I felt like it was the perfect opportunity to sort of start it, and he just didn't. But everything he did during that feud, I kept saying, like, if he's planning on going heel, everything he's doing here is the perfect sort of way to foreshadow it. And now that he is turning heel, it really feels like the stuff he did with the Go-Go, like adorning himself the American Dream, like that weird promo that we all hated. It feels like it was building towards this heel turn.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Cody's always been at his best when his gimmick is like, maybe again the Sisterhood of the Tinfoil Hat. When his gimmick has always been a deconstruction of the American Dream, where he's like, no, he is a rich boy, born into a rich family who's never had to want for nothing in his life. Like, that is where his gimmick has always been the best. That is literal personification of the American nightmare. Where it's like the complete opposite of the American, of what like the values and the concept of the American Dream. And I'm excited to see it, because Hollywood Cody, that is literally the American nightmare. And
sorry to interrupt you.
Are you alright?
I just wanted to mention before we moved on, like I rewatched this match because I tend to rewatch every episode, and like, did anyone like see when Arn just like fell over?
Yeah.
Did anyone see?
No, I
What the hell
noticed
happened?
him. So he got up on the wrong side of the ring for his spot. So he tried to inch around the corner post, and the corner post is like bulky, and he's not as spry. He's a bit of a thicker gentleman. So he tries to like walk around the ring, like the ring post, but he's like he can't because he's an old man. And then he just whoops falls over.
Like a whoopsie. It was made even like more confusing that he had a booked spot like 2 minutes later to actually legitimately fall off
Yeah.
the ring when Cody pushed him. I felt like bad. I didn't even notice it in the moment, but I just heard the crowd gasp and I was like, what the hell? So rewatching it, I was like, oh my god, is he okay? Arn had to take 2 bumps and like that poor guy. That poor guy.
Like I saw him. Like I was like, "What's Arn doing over there?" I saw him trying to like get himself around the ring post, and I'm like, "What? Why is he doing this?" And then he slips, and I was like, "Oh, that was a planned spot because like the camera's lingering on it." And then they stop, and then he gets back up on the apron, and then he falls again, and I was like, "Oh, that's fucking hilarious."
We need to like get that clip and edit in some like music when like in slapstick comedies where they slip on a banana peel.
Yeah.
It's like it's just some of that
The
music.
slide whistle.
Yeah, the
Sleep
slide
on.
whistle. Like just him falling. Except I feel bad because it's an old man who's the same age as Sting. Would you believe?
Yeah. Let's talk about Sting, shall we?
Oh, is that the next match?
Yeah. I mean, is it not?
Great segue. It is.
Good
yeah.
segue from Tiny.
Because
Hell yeah.
the cough medicine is really you're on form.
Hell yeah.
But
Even
yeah,
though every so often you just hear me go in the background.
but yeah,
It's lovely.
Sting and Darby versus FTR. Obviously Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega was the best match of the night by leagues. This was my match of the night because just watching Sting perform in this day and age, as with how old he is, it's magical. Like it's honestly something magic to see. Like he doesn't do like special moves. He doesn't do like insane bumps for an old man, but he just does everything so well, and he moves around the ring like a man that's not over 60. I'm always captivated by Sting in a wrestling ring more so than other people who do about as much as he does, that are maybe younger. I don't know. What do you guys think of this match? I'll let you talk about it.
Once again, I'm Sting fan. I'm very, very fond of Sting, so he can really go in there, do a little twirl, and I'd be like, hell yeah, get it, King. I think I enjoyed the match. I'm trying to remember the match. I enjoyed it. Sting and Darby have great chemistry. FTR are great as usual, but I didn't think it was anything overtly special, and I still think FTR should have won that one. But I'm not like married to the opinion, it's not like I'm furious about it, I guess. Because Sting and Darby were good as well, and it's always great to see Sting go in the ring.
Sting.
That's really all I have to add to it.
Like the match wasn't. It was a very fundamental match. They, unlike the rest of Sting's matches so far with Darby, they really had Sting in the ring most of the time, which was surprising to I think everyone. FTR were bumping their asses off for him. They were doing a lot to make him look good. But then he was also doing stuff to make himself look not like he's over 60.
Yeah.
And Darby did honestly very little in this match. Like he had a few good spots, but they really and I think to a point they had Darby take the back seat here to let Sting wrestle FTR because FTR are old school marks. And they were probably loving every second of being in the ring with Sting.
Yeah, and Sting had a nice spot with Tully where he just socked Tully in the face, unless
just
I'm
like the good old days.
remembering that wrong. Yeah, it's like, oh, look at that. Look at that. He'd been waiting to do that for so long. He's like, yep, here's a punch for you. And I did like the tease for I don't know if we've actually seen it before. We might have. I just can't remember, but like the joint finisher they have where it's like Sting has one of them in the death drop, and then Darby coffin drops him.
I don't think I noticed that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, oh, we need to see that. But I think it got cut off. I think FTR stopped it. But other than that, I don't really have much to say about that match.
Daisy?
I'm pretty similar, like I think for me personally, I don't know, I guess it was for all of us. We all really appreciated Kenny and Brian Daniels. Really appreciated that match, and it was technically the best wrestled match on the card, but the Cody Malachi one was my favorite. But this match in particular, the Sting Darby FTR, I think it did what it needed to do, and but like Tani said, I do think it was kind of weird that FTR lost just a little bit. They're really protected, and no matter what Dax says, they've got an amazing win-loss record at AEW, so it's not like they needed to build up the wins or anything. However, a big pet peeve of mine is definitely like established veteran tag teams losing to new tag teams or tag teams comprised of singles wrestlers. So it was a little bit odd for that ending, and it won't hurt FTR in the long run, but I don't know. I don't think that Darby has anything to lose. They keep sort of booking him into really, good spots in the company, and you can tell that he's very valuable to them, but I don't know, I don't think he needed to win here. And yeah, it was good. For me, it was just good. I didn't particularly extra enjoy it, like a super large amount, but it was good, yeah.
Yeah, I think Darby is on a bit of a cooling off period right now. Like, he just obviously had that huge match against CM Punk at All Out that he lost, so he's not necessarily in contention for anything right now. So I think having this match where Sting sort of took the initiative and was in the match for the whole time, not the whole time, but for most of the time, I felt that this was the right time to do it. And I also feel like they might be telling the story of their eventual breakup. There's been a few seeds planted, like when Sting was palling around with Orange Cassidy that one time, and Darby was like, hey, don't do that during my matches, please. There was another time. There's just been like these very minor teases that that there was all the stuff with the hey, I don't want you at ringside for my handicap match. That was another one, and he was just like, Dad, I don't want you to embarrass me by being at ringside while I take on these two guys. And Sting was like, yeah, I'm not hurt by that. And then he walks off in a single tear. I might be embellishing that a bit, but yeah, I think we might be heading toward the eventual split. So having Sting sort of take the forefront and be sort of the star of this and sort of overshadow Darby, I think helps fuel that. I don't know what form it's going to take, or if I even want that to happen, but I feel like that's something they're building to. Yeah. And they just beat a former tag team champion. So what would you guys think of Sting and Darby eventually going for a tag title?
I see it happening. Like I mean, the writing's on the wall. That to me is clear what they're building towards with this win, because like to beat FTR, one of the top three, probably top three tag teams in the company, they got to do something with it, because if they didn't, I'd be more annoyed. So I honestly think that at Full Gear, I think Full Gear could potentially be Lucha Bros versus Sting and Darby. In that case, Sting will get absolutely owned, I'm pretty sure. I just think that Rey Fenix will break all of his bones. And probably Darby's too. So looking forward to that. I think the match will be good. But yeah, there's something about it that feels, I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't feel 100% right to me, but I can't explain why. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
What do you think the over under is on Sting taking a Canadian destroyer?
I think it's likely.
Right? Like they've had him do a bunch of crazy shit. Do you think they'd have him
I think
do?
he wants to do it.
Okay. Do you
Probably
think?
asks to do
Do you
it.
think he's going to take one or deliver one?
I swear, hasn't he done one already?
No, you're thinking of
Am I
Dustin.
crazy? I swear he might have done one before. Maybe I'm
he does code
misremembering.
reds or
It
sunset
might be
flips, whichever one they are. I
Maybe.
think he does code red.
Maybe. Probably. I mean, I'd like it if they put him in a cage again. Put the Lucha Bros back in a cage.
Put him in a
Put Sting in a cage.
put Sting in a cage.
See
Put
what
Lucha Bros in
happens.
a cage. Put
Sting
Darby
doesn't-
on top of
Susie
a cage.
No, Sting is the one who does the top of the cage Canadian Destroyer all along. That wasn't meant for the Young Bucks because Sting wanted that spot.
Yeah. Tani, are you still alive? And do you have opinions on Sting and Darby going for tag titles?
I think it's gonna happen. I don't think they should win it. That's really all I have to say about that, I guess.
Okay, then that opens us up to go to our main event, which I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised. I called Bryan Danielson versus Omega being the opener, but I didn't call Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker for the Women's World Championship being the main event. How do you guys feel they did in this pretty high-profile main event spot?
It was a good match. I'm glad Britt retained because I don't think she's fully committed. Oh, sorry. I don't think she's fully committed to herself yet as champ, and I'm really glad she retained because I am keen to see more of her reign, and Ruby was fantastic. And yeah, I'm so happy they got the main event spot. It's what they deserve. It's what the women deserve.
Yeah, I don't think there was. I think I said in the PW Musings roundtable preview that because after that discussion with Jacob, I think I said that somewhere in there I was like, I'm pretty sure Katie and Bryan are main eventing. I'm pretty sure, but if not, the only match that should take that spot is the Women's World Championship match because it's the only one that makes logical sense. Honestly, if they didn't put it in the main event spot, it would be a bit of an insult since it's the only title match on the card. It makes the most sense, like in kayfabe, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, for Britt to be the only woman, she's not the only one, obviously, but she has been in every single women's main event in AEW history. She obviously had them with Thunder Rosa. She had the one on Rampage with Red Velvet. Then we have this one. I believe that that role, even though she's fantastic in it, they need to expand a little bit. And I think that Ruby is the perfect person to step in there and also start to have some main events. Obviously, I think there are plenty of women who are capable of it, like Thunder Rosa, and there's a few others out there, Chris Statlander. But I think that Ruby is the only woman in the division thus far who has managed to stand across from Britt Baker, or even separately from Britt Baker, and get reactions as loud as Britt has. And that is just it's a sad fact. I don't think that the crowds are particularly loving towards the women in general. Like, obviously there's plenty of fans of the women there, but they always get lower crowd reactions in the men's matches, and that's just kind of the way it is. So it's been really cool to watch the build to this and actually see hype, see the crowds getting into it, like see Ruby getting huge cheers and Britt getting huge cheers, and that promo segment last week, which we didn't talk about because we didn't record last week, was awesome. One of my favorite women's segments in the history of AEW. It was so good. And this match was good as a result, Ruby is super experienced, much more experienced than Britt. And she definitely did have a lot of interesting spots here. I always enjoy a jump from, the ring post or wherever. Jump off the top ropes. I don't think we see them as much in the women's matches as we do the men's. There's less sort of acrobatics and things. Not that there was heaps in this, but I really appreciated most of all that they had time in this match to perform. I think it ended up being like 16 minutes, which is usually a lot longer than the women's matches in AEW. So they got to tell a bit of a story in this. It started slow, it built up and built up and built up. We had near fall at the end. It felt like there were stakes. It felt like we didn't know who was going to win for sure, which is always great in a championship match because, they could have decided they want to just put the belt on Ruby, even though it probably would have been a bad idea because Britt has just become champion. But it was good. I don't think that Ruby, despite what some people think, I don't think that Ruby is losing out by losing. It maybe would have been slightly better for her if Britt didn't beat her so cleanly. Did she beat her clean?
No, there was plenty of shenanigans. Rebel distracted the ref.
But...
Hater hit her with a move, and then
yeah, I just feel like I would have preferred if the shenanigans were to happen, that maybe a pinfall would have happened and not a submission.
Yeah, I do think submission might have been the wrong choice here.
Yeah, but Ruby is super powerful. She's a massive star. I think she has the potential to be a massive star for the division. She's super cool. She's a great theme song. She's awesome. I really hope that they do not slow down her momentum after this. They need her right back in. Unfortunately, I wish I had more faith in their booking of the women's division to believe that they wouldn't do that, but there's this thing in the back of my mind saying it's a possibility. But yeah, overall it was great, and I really appreciate the opportunity they were given because they're not given it that often.
Yeah, I thought this match was really good. I don't think it's better than the Statlander match at All Out, but it didn't really need to be. I think that the level at which Ruby Soho performs is very good. I think she's a very good worker in the ring, and I think she did a very good job against the champion and helping Britt Baker. And I don't want to sound like I think Britt Baker needs the help, but it does seem like, unlike some people who can really elevate their own opponents, Britt Baker can be the opponent in a very good match. I don't know if you put her up against someone who's less experienced, if you're going to have as good of a match. I think Ruby Soho is very good at making... I don't know. Is that the right term? It's what Kenny does.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's true because what does Britt have, like 5 years of experience? It's just a fact of her being inexperienced, so that's the way it is, but you're 100% right.
Yeah, and this, like, it wasn't as good as the Statlander match, and I don't actually know, because both Statlander... How long has Statlander been wrestling? I know this is a bit of a tangent.
I'm pretty sure around the same time. Probably around the same time, but I think, I don't know what it is with Chris. I think maybe she's just slightly more, not diminishing Britt at all, I think that Chris maybe is slightly more naturally inclined.
Yeah, because that match
wrestling
was very good. And, like, I'm just thinking about the Nyla Rose match, which wasn't, the best worked match ever. And I don't know. Probably shouldn't put this up against those other matches, because this match in and of itself, and especially in the spot that it's in front of the crowd that it's in front of, was very good. It was a very good showcase of both wrestlers. And I think maybe the shenanigans at the end, like, maybe you could have had maybe a cleaner finish, but had one that protected Ruby a bit more in, like, a pass out, or maybe not just a very plain one person distracts the ref, the other one does like a top rope blockbuster, whatever that's called, and then submission, and then she taps. I think her tapping is a point of contention for people, and I think people see tapping as sort of a lower form of losing than being pinned or passing out in a submission. So I can see where people are coming from, but I definitely don't think anything was taken away from Ruby from losing this match.
No, definitely not. Because, like, here's the thing. Britt's submission, like, the lockjaw is super protected. Like, I think everyone's tapped to that.
Yeah.
because it's meant to be extremely painful
Yeah, you're.
because it goes into
I
the
think
whole
I think
dentist
I
gimme.
I just think that the slight differences and why I think it's a little bit weird is I don't see them doing this for a big sort of, and I don't want to make it a man woman thing all the time, but I don't think they would have done this for a big male debut. I don't think they would have had like Andrade tap or Malachi tap in their first big match. You know, it just is a little bit of a weird decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking too, like, because this isn't like the debut match. This is the title match, and it's like her third match in the company. And I'm thinking to like, my mind goes to Brody Lee, who passed out in a choke, in his match against John Moxley. Brian Cage. Brian Cage did tap out. No, threw in the towel for Brian Cage.
Mm-hmm.
But you can argue, and you probably can argue rightfully, that Ruby Soho is a level above Brian Cage as far as star power and where she should be positioned on the card. Sorry, Brian Cage. I'm not sorry, Brian Cage. Ruby Soho rocks. But yeah, so you can argue that maybe they'd historical precedents say that a male wrestler in their title match debut passes out or like has a cop out and Ruby Soho tapped out. I can see where you can make that connection.
Yeah. Anyway, that was Grand Slam.
That was Grand Slam.
That was the
Grand
first
Slam.
night.
Yeah.
That was the first one. We
Yeah.
have a whole nother one.
Tawny, are you good to keep going or do you gotta?
Yeah, I'm good to keep going for another hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can get through the next one in an hour.
Then we're rocketing on to Rampage. The smoothie caught up to me. Sorry.
Sorry, by the way, if you heard my cat just like hack in the background at the same time.
Oh, that what that was.
Oh, don't worry. No, that probably was me.
Yeah, I thought it was
No,
Tawny.
It was my cat. He like made this horrible.
Which
noise.
time?
It was like a minute ago.
Which
maybe.
one was Tawny and which one was the cat?
It's both of them. God, anyway, Rampage.
Rampage.
Time.
Much like the mucus in Tawny's head, we're rampaging on.
Leave me alone. I took my cough medicine and I took my cold and flu. It's literally just because I woke up literally 5 minutes before we started recording, and you know when you wake up and even if you're pretty better from a cold, you wake up and you're still like gross and phlegmy and stuff. It's getting better. I've been coughing less.
Good.
Because we're talking about CM Punk versus Will Hobbs. I almost said Brian Hobbs and I had to stop myself. But we're talking CM Punk versus William
Will Hobbs is at your door. Will Hobbs is gonna murder you for that one.
Hobbs. This match, it was CM Punk's first televised match since leaving all those years ago. And it was on Rampage, the show where he originally showed up, so that's very apropos. And I think this match was not only a great showcase of CM Punk, once again, and only his second match in the company, but also a pretty good showcase of Will Hobbs as a worker. The spot that stands out to me that's not life-threatening is when Will Hobbs reverses the go to sleep into a spine buster. That people have been talking about that and sharing clips, and just like the way not only does it show that Will Hobbs is like a smart worker and he can counter stuff like that because he's working with Taz. He shouldn't be like a stupid big man. He's working with one of the greatest technicians in wrestling history, so he should have the mind, the wrestler sense to know how to get out of something like the go to sleep. And just he blocks it and then he just hoists him up, slams him down. It doesn't look like CM Punk helps him at all. It looks like he is involuntarily ripped from his feet. Yeah, I thought this was a good showcase for both men.
Punk sold that reverse so well. Like he genuinely looked like he was trying to fight it. It was really cool. Punk came out in trunks.
Oh yeah, Punk trunks. They're back.
And
Trunks.
once again, I say CM Punk sexy. He looks so good. He's
Not.
on his. He is living his thottiest life, and honestly, good for him.
I'm
Good for him.
not gonna lie. I had no problem with Pants Punk. I
Oh, I
thought.
didn't like Pants Punk.
How do you not
I
like?
liked Pants Punk, and then I
I
saw him
didn't.
in the trunks, and I never want him to go back to pants.
Yeah.
I didn't mind Pants
I
Punk.
I think personally my problem with Pants Punk is I didn't like the particular pants he was wearing. I think if he had better pants, it would have been better. But I wasn't a fan of them. They just kind of look like leggings that I would buy at the warehouse for $5 with some like kick pads on. But
It could have been a confidence issue, but he really shouldn't feel that way because he's like not to get horny on the podcast, but his thighs looked incredible. So
he did. He looked good, and I think I mentioned this while we were watching it, but I genuinely think that I don't know what he's done in the past. What's it been like 3 weeks since All Out?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like somehow managed to slim out even more. Even though he came out at All Out, he looked in fantastic shape. Something about maybe it's because he was wearing trunks. I don't know what it was, but he looked like he'd been putting on a bit of muscle. I don't know. I think he looked great, and this match was great. And there was that really scary spot in the corner with the Hurricane Rana situation where I think Punk ended up busting his lip on the ring post. That was a little bit scary, but no one died, so that's okay. You know, things happen. And
that's
this match,
baseline. If no one
Yeah.
dies, it's fine.
Did you
yeah,
die?
as long as no one dies or needs surgery, it's okay.
But did you die?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But did
Stop
you
crying,
die?
CM Punk. Did you fucking die? No, it was fine. It was. I don't know what it was. There was something cool. This might sound a bit sick. There's something cool about seeing CM Punk with like a busted lip. I don't
No,
know.
it looks cool. It looks
Because
cool.
I think the assumption is like he's gonna be so like protected, like he's been wrapped in bubble wrap. But like no, he's in there. He's in there to get hurt. He's in there to like put his all into it. And like seeing him bleed a little bit was like you know that he was so fine with that, and he probably enjoyed it.
I think there's like this unspoken idea that CM Punk is not gonna like put his all into wrestling again. Like I don't know. This might just be something that I'm reading from the room, but it sort of feels like when he came back, because especially with the idea that people thought he was gonna come back and be like really bitter about being so scorned by the wrestling world and that he has to come back here to make wrestling better. I think with that, even though he's come back as this massive babyface who's super excited about wrestling again, it sort of felt like there was this air of like he's not going to do as much. He's not going to put as much effort in, even though he said multiple times that he will. It needed to be seen to be believed if he's going to do like the full extent of what wrestling is these days.
That's the thing. It's because like I would not blame him. Is the thing. Like I wouldn't blame anybody for coming back after as like a 7-year hiatus and being a little bit more hesitant, a little bit more cautious. That's not like that wouldn't be me calling him a pussy if he was gonna try and protect himself a little bit more. That's just like what you got to do when you're a little bit older. You haven't been in the ring for a long time. You don't know what you're properly capable of. So I wouldn't blame him if he wanted to take it a little bit easy until he was fully aware of his limits. But I think he doesn't care, and I think he's just there to have fun. So that sort of thought is gone out of my mind now. I think he's just keen to wrestle as much as he can, and yeah, that's just kind of the way it is. It's really cool to see him, and like you mentioned, he's just so happy. I'm so happy to see him happy, and the more I can see him enjoy his time before the little bit of shine has worn off, which it will, as it does for everybody. The happier I am, Yeah.
And like going back to what Tani had said about how he sold the Spinebuster, I mentioned it in our Lost Super Awesome All Out review drunk podcast, but the way CM Punk can sell these days, like since being in MMA, he's added like really good selling to his repertoire. The way he like moves his head when he takes like punches and slaps, like he moves it as someone who's experienced being knocked the fuck out. And when he's selling something like that Spinebuster, he knows how to make it look like he's in peril. and he knows like what his face should do. He knows what his legs should do. It's just very impressive how far he's come as a wrestler, even when he wasn't wrestling. It feels like in that time somehow he got better as a wrestler, even though he wasn't wrestling. So we can roll right on to the match of Friday night, I'm guessing, unless someone else has a better match than Super Click versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. And I highly doubt that either of you do, because I think we're all pretty big fans of everyone in this match. The idea of Adam Cole and the Young Bucks together again, having gay orgies right in the middle of the ring, right on top of Jungle
yeah.
Boy.
Poor Jungle Boy.
It was like a PWG 6-man, except on one side you have Christian fucking Cage, and I think that's pretty cool. All things considered, just seeing, and I know we're going to talk about Adam Cole and the massive reactions he gets and the Young Bucks and how good they always are, and you know, Jungle Boy being super athletic and amazing to watch, and freaking Luchasaurus and his ability to dodge things at the size that he is. But I just want to take a moment to appreciate Christian and just the fact that he's here in a match like this. And it's just how weird, but also how cool that is. Because if you think back to, like, I don't know, 7 years ago when he retired, and someone told me that, hey, 7 years from now, he's going to have a match against the Super Click, or I guess it would have been like Mount Rushmore at that time. And, you know, he was going to team with a dinosaur and Luke Perry's son. I would have been like, that's a weird future. I don't know how I feel about that. Turns out I feel really good because it's amazing. Now, Tani, you can talk about Adam Cole.
I was waiting for it.
I loved it. I was really excited for the Super Click reunion. I loved the pop Adam Cole got. That was the loudest Adam Cole baby that I've ever heard. That entire crowd screamed it, and it was amazing. The match was obviously very, very good. The Bucks are great. Adam Cole's great. They haven't lost a beat together. And I'm really, really happy that they're going to keep doing the camel clutch kiss on the cheek move, because it's going to make homophobes angry, and I'm always down for that. And it's also just such a lovely, wholesome move. Even though they're all heels, it's a very wholesome move. I love it.
You gotta run across the ring at least 4 times before you can do the kiss. That's really what sells it.
Yeah. Gotta build it up because it's meant to look like they're gonna stop and super kick.
You gotta
in the camel clutch, but no, they do kiss instead.
Yeah, you gotta build up the speed to the kissy.
Gotta do a kissy in the middle of the ring. I loved it. I wish Doc Gallows wasn't there, just hanging out, but you know, you take what you can get. Brandon as well was really funny. I noticed when Adam Cole, little coward man, kept rolling out of the ring when he was first in it, immediately tagged Matt in. But I also liked how Brandon immediately starts cold spraying Adam Cole as well. It was good.
He's part of the Cold Spray family.
He is the Cold Spray family. We got the Nightmare family and the Cold Spray family. But yeah, it was just a really good match. I liked that there wasn't a beatdown at the end too. Like they pinned Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy came in to look after Luchasaurus, and him and Adam Cole had a bit of a stare off and said some words to each other, but there wasn't a beatdown, which was pleasantly surprising because it seemed for a while that almost every post-elite match there was a beatdown of some sort.
Yeah, and I don't know what you guys remember from this match, but it's such a fast-paced match that it's hard to keep track of all of the spots going on. But all of the spots I remember from this match were from Luchasaurus. Like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but Luchasaurus was a standout in this match. Him, like, dodging all of the Young Bucks and Adam Cole's offense. Him doing like a matrix slide under a knee, him dodging super kicks, doing flips, and he was pretty much everywhere in this match. And at the end, when they just all hit, you hit the Panama Sunrise, and it looked like he landed right on his head. Then you hit the stereo super kicks, the BT trigger, and then the what's now being called the boom. I think both in selling and in offense, I think Luchasaurus was almost my MVP in this match.
I think he did great too. I really think that Luchasaurus is one of the guys who suffered the most during the pandemic, simply because he's like an insane hot tag, and when you don't have the audience there to sort of react to it, I do think that even though he had a lot of injuries as well during the pandemic, having him back in there, I really think that the crowd helps him out. Such a good hot tag, and I totally agree that he did an awesome job. But something about this match, which I'll mention, despite the fact that I absolutely love the kissing spot, I think it's amazing. I've seen enough. Sorry, I just choked.
Oh God.
I'll say it again. The camel clutch. So I really love the kissing spot. However, seeing another person, or I guess team now, doing the camel clutch regularly scares me so much. Like, I hate seeing Miro do it. And to have Adam Cole and the Bucks doing it as well is like, it does freak me out a bit. Like, that move is pretty dangerous. It can cause like severe spinal injuries for people, and as someone who has taken it, it was the most pain I've felt in my life. So to have like the Bucks basically running the ropes until they, find time to kiss him on the cheek, and have that poor guy, I think it was Jungle Boy, sitting there in a camel clutch as he waits, like, it's so cruel, man. Yeah, that match does scare me, and that move does freak me out, I can't lie. But aside from that, the match was really great, and I'm pretty sure when I was listening, did he hit the boom at the right time, Jacob? Did he get the boom right this time?
He hit it on a boom. It wasn't "Are you ready for the boom?" or "Here," whatever it is at the beginning. But there is a boom just in the music, amongst the music, that he did sync it up to.
I guess that's something.
I still think that like there are like a billion booms in that song that he can sync it up to, and the fact that the first two times he did it, he just didn't, still annoys me. But if he's gonna hit it on one of the booms, then that's fine.
Any of the booms.
Dear God, any of the booms. There's so many of them.
He got a boom. He's still trying. He's doing his best.
I believe next up was Jericho and Hager versus Men of the Year. Men of the Year, who have the best theme in AEW right now. I love that song. It's so, like, it's not great musically. It's just so energetic, and I love it. The promo that we didn't talk about from Dynamite pertains to this match. It was the Jake Hager and Chris Jericho promo. All I remember from it was Jake Hager trying to capitalize on the "I'm a fat face dipshit, yeah" joke, and it just didn't work. Thought I should bring that up.
Didn't he say like Men of the Year, more like Boys of the Week?
More like Boys of the Week. That Jake Hager's a face forever because of that.
Honestly. Oh, so wait, this match was Men of the Year versus Jericho and Hager?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't watch barely any of this match. I went and made a cup of tea. And then we watched the countdown for part 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about, and like when I switched over to part 2, it skipped the ending. So not to linger too much on what happened in this match, because I don't know, and I don't frankly really care. I'm glad Men of the Year, or Boys of the Week, Teenagers of the month, they got the win. I heard it was a roll up from Sky to Hager, and that's that. But what happened afterwards is the Fighty people came in, and the Fighty people did a fight on Jericho and Hager. I'm gonna name some people that I believe were there. Dos Santos, Masvidal, Paige Van Zant, Scorpio
Kayla
Sky,
Harrison.
Ethan Page, Chris Jericho. Those
Kayla
were the.
Harrison was there, wasn't she? She
I
was
don't
the
know who
blondie.
that is.
Yes, she was.
Yeah,
Was
like
the blonde
I
not
don't
Paige Van Zant?
No, it's
know.
Kayla Harrison is probably. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I don't know who the new people were, so I don't fucking know. But she was the most accomplished in the ring last week. I'm pretty sure she's a featherweight. Is that the right term? Fuck if I know anything about MMA. She's a champion anyway.
We're three people who
She's
don't know
part of the
about
American
MMA.
top team. She's
Yeah.
she's part of the American top team.
I thought people kept saying Paige Van Zant.
Maybe I don't know. She was there last week, so I assume she was in there.
I
this
believe
week.
Paige Van Zant was the one who did the punchies on Chris Jericho's
Maybe
Tum
she
Tum.
was.
Correct us if we're wrong. Masvidal hit a V trigger.
Paige Van Zam, hold on. I don't think she's part of the American top team.
I don't know. None of these people even matter to me. They're just
Googling on air.
Vague, famous people that I cared more about Lil Uzi Vert being in the crowd than like any of these like MMA people. To be honest,
to actually give the segment some credit and to actually talk about it instead of just doing whatever we do here. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the idea of all these MMA people coming in and like ripping shit up and being like, "Oh, we're so tough." I don't care for MMA or like a lot of the people in it, and I don't know who any of these people are. But I think if it brings mainstream attention, that's cool. I wouldn't have put Chris Jericho in this position. I would have put someone that people actually like. And Chris Jericho is really riding that line on if people like him or not. The fans like him in the arena. And like with Cody, I think that's weird because online perception is far different than how people react there live. I don't feel anything
Jericho's
for
a controversial one.
I don't feel anything
Jericho's
for Jericho.
a controversial one. There's always a lot of rumors that float around about Jericho. And you never really know what to believe.
Like, it's like Jericho's involvement with Tyson, and of course Tyson had like a whole different set of reasons why he probably shouldn't have been there, but it just felt like sticking Jericho with the famous people to make it feel more big. But I didn't care about Jericho facing down with Tyson, and I don't care about Jericho getting V-triggered by Masvidal. I would have rather this centered around people that I could actually connect with and not the two least interesting members of the inner circle.
The thing that makes me I have made no secret on the internet that I am not a fan of Dan Lambert or the whole storyline. It really has go away heat with me. Tani was making a tea. I was eating food and I was not watching this because I dislike him that much. Where I would legitimately, if I was watching this on TV, I would switch the channel over. But you don't have the luxury of that when you're watching it on a stream. So I appreciate that Ethan and Scorpio got the win because I do think that they are deserving on their own. Ethan is a great talent. Scorpio obviously is very accomplished. But I don't want the fact that they won that to mean that Dan Lambert is going to keep being there. It's going to be a lot, and I just don't like it. There's a lot of people who don't like him. I know there's a lot of people who do like him, especially I'd say American people like him a lot more. People who are familiar with MMA as well, I think, like him a lot more. But for me, as a foreign person who doesn't care about MMA and finds a lot of that stuff really cringe, I just can't with him. And I really hope he leaves. And this is absolutely nothing against him as a person. I know that out of kayfabe, he really likes AEW, and that's great. I'm sure he's a really nice person, and I'm sure he's having a good time, but oh my god, I can't deal with it any longer. And yeah, that paired with Jericho, paired with Hager being there, who I also don't like, just a big mass of people I don't really like in a ring, MMA stuff happening. I couldn't. I feel like I'm being so mean right now, but like I could not care less about it. Really. I didn't like it.
Yeah,
And
I'm the same. It's like if you don't watch MMA, this kind of doesn't mean anything to you. I only really just like Kayla Harrison because she's cool, and that was it.
Sorry, Jacob.
No, it's fine. Like, I know that I may have stirred some shit on Twitter when I accidentally subtweeted a lot of my mutuals saying that I think that the heat that Dan Lambert has is more legitimate than some people may claim. I do still feel like sometimes people will say, this has go away heat, when it just has regular heat. I appreciate what Dan Lambert is going for as a character, and I do feel like it does get under some people's skin the way it's supposed to, but I can also see where it gets under some people's skin the way that it's not supposed to. So I appreciate that. I like the character, and I, especially if it gives a push to Men of the Year, because I really like Men of the Year. I don't care where this MMA thing is going. And I said it on Twitter earlier that it's like if a parent marries another parent that has like children and the children are mean to you for no reason. I don't want to share a fan base with the MMA people. MMA fans suck. I'll go to war with all of the MMA fans. MMA fans suck, and every time I interact with them, I don't like it. So I don't like having these posts that MMA fans find, and you see them being like, oh, if you guys fucking like wrestling, this stuff is, you realize that it's fake, right? We watch real fighting. Our matches go 2 seconds and we're satisfied. I don't like that this is inviting them into the fan base. And maybe that's very I don't want to hear what MMA people have to say about wrestling, and having MMA people in wrestling invites that. I don't like it.
Fair enough.
What was next?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a whole different topic. But like, I'm not a huge MMA fan or a fan at all, really. Because the reason I like wrestling is they're not actually trying to hurt each other.
Yeah, I don't, and this is definitely a tangent. I don't understand why people are like, oh, you like wrestling and not MMA, but MMA is just what you like but better. And it's like, no, it's not, because I don't like 1 minute matches that end because some guy's leg exploded. I like long story driven matches that, like, you know how long they're going to go because you know that they've been allotted the time and it's been mapped out and it's going to go usually according to plan, and that there is a plan. And I enjoy that more than what MMA is, and it's different, and I don't think they go together all too well, even though people seem to think they do.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page. I don't think any of us are MMA fans, unfortunately. Sorry to any MMA fans out there.
Yeah, I'm not throwing...
If anyone's listening, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I'm not... My whole rant wasn't about cool MMA fans. It was just about the douchey ones. And even the cool ones, the cool MMA fans out there, you know that douchebags exist in your realm. Douchebags exist in wrestling fandom.
Oh, they exist.
So many douchebags exist in
many.
MMA fandom. Like, it's insane how much worse the MMA fandom is.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah. If people, I know people who like MMA, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone has different tastes. I can't fuck with them actually hurting each other, because that just goes against so many human instincts.
Triple Friends podcast is waging war on MMA.
We are going to war, and like, just so many people at the top in MMA are just shitty people of another level, and yet they're still given these platforms. I mean, like, look at Conor McGregor. Like, that guy's a fucking prick.
Yeah, too much stuff comes out about people at the top of MMA, and I get that a lot of stuff, especially recently, has come out about a lot of famous wrestling figures, but like just the amount of like the the way it seems that high profile MMA people like conduct themselves and talk on a regular basis. Like I just think to that one guy, I can't even remember the name, but he was asked something about AEW or wrestling in general in the current day, and he called it gay. And it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Richard, like 2010.
yeah,
To say-
yeah.
We
We should move
should
on
we
before
move
we
on?
get ourselves in more trouble with the MMA community.
They're at my door.
The
They're knocking
MMA
down my door right
community.
now. They're using their heads, but like they're definitely battering the door down.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Private Party and the Butcher and the Blade versus Lucha Bros, Santana, and Ortiz. First of all, the pops that both Proud and Powerful and Lucha Bros got coming out in front of the New York crowd. Of course, Santana and Ortiz are from New York, and Lucha Bros are massively over. They both got huge pops. Some of the biggest pops of Rampage. Of course, the crowd was a bit tired after watching an entire other show. This match, it wasn't as good as the six-man tag, but I still think it was very high octane and fun, and very much that multi-man style that AEW likes to do. But pretty much the main story coming out of it is that Matt Hardy has nominated Jack Evans for a hair versus hair match, and I don't know.
horrible, poor Jack. I love seeing. First of all, I love seeing the friendship or the alliance between Proud and Powerful and Lucha Bros, because I wouldn't have called that 6 months ago. You know, I wouldn't, or like whatever. I wouldn't have predicted that, and I'm really enjoying it. Proud and Powerful are so good as baby faces, so good. I'm trying to remember. I always like seeing Butcher and Blade in action. There's no one like them. Their gimmick is so fun. I like the cleaver on the back of Butcher's pants. Who else was in that match? Private Party. Private Party. Private Party did Private Party things.
I think they had a few good spots. They had.
Yeah.
I can't name any of them because these matches just move too fast for my simple brain. But I definitely remember them having spots. I just couldn't.
They did.
They did.
I would hope they did. They had spots in the wrestling match, full of spots. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I don't like that its purpose it was to push the Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy thing. The AEW, I feel, has a problem, and this might be controversial, but I think Daisy might agree with this one at least. AEW has a problem where they just don't know when to end Orange Cassidy feuds. They did it with Orange and Jericho. They did it with Best Friends and Kip and Miro, and now they're doing it with Orange and Matt Hardy, and they don't seem to know when to end Orange Cassidy feuds. It's like they want to use him, which is fine. He's super popular, but it's like give him new stuff to do, because this feud's run its course. I feel like the hair versus hair thing doesn't work with Orange and Matt, because Orange isn't particularly known for being protective of his hair or anything like that. Neither is Matt Hardy on that note either. And so then it's like, oh, it's going to be Orange and Jack Evans. And I think Jack Evans is going to be losing, and I don't want to be subjected to bold Jack Evans. I'll take bold Orange Cassidy, but Orange Cassidy's not going to lose.
I will agree that they have a hard time ending Orange Cassidy feud at the right time, but I will also argue that the Jericho feud and the Miro Kip Sabian feud both ended really well. Like the Mimosa Mayhem match was fun. Like, that was a pretty fun match, pretty creative match stipulation that we'll never see again, thankfully. But for what it was as a one-off, was more fun than a lot of the one-off character-based gimmick matches we've seen. And Arcade Anarchy was a lot of fun. Like, that was like way more fun than it had any right to be. And I don't think that whatever payoff we're gonna have here is gonna be as good as either of those. And I don't know where or why or when the hair became part of this. It just seems so tacked on. It just seemed like one day Matt Hardy was like, I'm gonna take your hair, and it doesn't work. I know on the podcast, or maybe not even on the podcast, was Bald Matt Hardy on the podcast? That was after one of our recording sessions.
That the panic when we thought we saw Bald Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
For 5 seconds. Yeah,
I think that was on the podcast.
Yeah, that was not. So a few weeks ago, after doing the podcast, we were just talking, shooting the shit, and I brought up the fact that in one of, I think it was like the Bunny versus someone, and in that match, it looked like there was someone out there with the Hardy family office that I didn't recognize, who was incredibly bald, and I was like, did Matt Hardy shave his head? And everyone was like, no, he didn't. And then I was like, are you sure? Because there's an incredibly bald person out there with them. Are you sure Matt Hardy didn't shave his head? And we spent like a good 10 minutes just trying to find a single shot of who this guy was. It ended up being that one Indian guy that they've recruited on Dark. But yeah, we thought, we were so fearful that it was Bald Matt Hardy, and I think that fear manifested itself into reality, and I think we're actually getting Bald Matt Hardy, and no one's excited about it.
He sensed it. Matthew
like a bad
sensed
omen.
It. He knew our panic, and he was like, haha, heel heat. But it's just like, oh my god. I don't want it. I didn't ask for this. No one asked for this. I don't know why they're doing it. Though Daisy on Twitter made a very funny tweet, and she said it while we were on Discord as well. And actually, I'll let her talk about that one.
I think, I'll get into that because I think that'd be kind of funny. But I think, right, the only times in wrestling where hair versus hair matches happen, it's like two scenarios where either the two guys are involved are like known for their hair, or two girls. I think these have happened in Japan quite a lot. Either really well known for their hair, and it's like, oh my god, who's gonna lose their hair? It's like a huge thing. Or someone is balding and they need an excuse to shave their head. I don't know if that's the case with Matt Hardy, because he looks like he still has all of his hair. I don't know if he's balding under there, but he could be. It's just strange. Like you guys said, there's no reason why he wants to cut off Orange's hair. It's like short anyway. It'll take like a month and a half for it to grow back to like the length that's at now. So what's the point? Like, I heard as well that on the Rampage taping for last week, that segment where Jack Evans came out with like the clippers, and that guy in the audience was dressed as Orange Cassidy, and he came up to the ring because they were like, I think Matt Hardy was like, that guy's been looking at me all night. So he like dragged him into the ring, and Jack Evans shaved half of his head for some reason. I heard that because it was edited down, apparently that segment dragged on for so long because Jack Evans couldn't get the clippers to work, and they were just struggling in the ring for like 7 minutes trying to shave this guy's head because they weren't working. It feels like it's been doomed from the start, and I just can't understand it. But like the sort of shock, the gag, was that promo on this week's episode of Rampage where we're talking about it now, where Matt Hardy was like, next week it's gonna be Orange losing his hair against Jack Evans, and it was like, oh my, what the fuck, what? I'm so like, no one saw this one coming. Why the hell is Jack Evans gonna shave his head for this doomed feud? I don't know. his hair is fine. Doesn't need to lose it. His hair is great, even. But what the thing I said on Twitter, which Tony brought up before, it would be kind of funny. Would it be terrible and kind of WWE-esque? Yes. But would it be funny if this feud continued where Matt Hardy kept demanding hair versus hair matches with Orange Cassidy, but every single member of the HFO had to go against them like one by one, and then they ended up just being a big bold faction of bold men, and then the bunny also being bold? I think that'd be kind of funny. And it might be redeeming, but it'd be bad. It's one of those things that's like, it'd be funny, but also terrible, and I don't know if I actually want it. I probably don't. But
that
yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
I mean, it's the only thing that could, like, make me smile, where, like, the HFO come out now, and I just roll my eyes, because I just think that they're not a great faction, and they just kind of, like, there's too much of them. They're just everywhere, constantly. Yeah, but if they were all just, like, dome heads.
But they're not allowed
like
to shave Angelico's head. I won't allow that.
No, leave Angelico alone.
And Angelico is too attractive of a man.
Everyone needs to shave their head.
No, not
Everyone.
Angelico.
Every single one.
You can take the bunny's hair. You can take Mark Quinn's hair, even though
Penelope?
that is also Penelope's hair. You can't take Angelica's. You cannot. No.
All of them are bold.
No.
It's not the HFO anymore. It's the BFO. It's the Bold Family Office. And everyone.
They're forced to
It's
change their
bold.
last name to the Bald family.
Bunny and I think Bunny would look badass with like a close shave.
Yeah.
Personal preference.
That's that,
But,
man. I mean, that was like the only memorable
And
sort of promo.
speaking of the bunny, I mean, when did
bunny.
Miro kill Fuego again?
Oh, true.
that was
well,
last-
At the
It did?
beginning?
we'll say it right now. It happened whenever we are in the show. So next up was the segment where... So it was during a commercial break when it started, because it was Sammy coming out to do his cue card thing, even though they weren't doing picture-in-picture. They don't do picture-in-picture during Rampage for some reason. And so, yeah, he was doing his cue card thing for the fans, and they come back from commercial, and Miro is standing behind Fuego and Sammy and just sort of beats the shit out of him for a little bit and then throws Fuego into the abyss of a table. Pretty awesome segment to set up their title match this next week. You guys have any thoughts on it?
It was just your basic beatdown segment. I really liked. I think the crowning glory of that segment was Ricky's commentary during it, in which he just like was loving it.
He was giddy.
He was hyped for Miro destroying these two people. And then at one point, I think Fuego was attacking Miro, and Ricky went to stand up to like help out or something like that, and Taz had to tell him to sit back down. He was like, "Don't get involved, Ricky." And then another point, he unscrews his water bottle to lob it at Sammy. And it was just these really funny little bits in the background. And then Fuego died. He's dead.
Again.
Rest in peace, Fuego.
They killed Fuego.
Once again, they love to kill Fuego.
They killed Fuego. You bastards. That's a South Park reference.
I love South Park.
Such an old reference. Is South Park considered old now?
No.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I think it is. I think it
It's
is.
still relevant. They don't kill Kenny as much, though.
Yeah.
We're
But,
very old people.
Daisy, do you have any thoughts on Fuego being murdered again?
It was, I mean, I'm just kind of pleased that he's being used in some way, especially because he had that huge moment on Rampage. If he was just to go back down to Dark and not have any involvement on the show itself, might have been a waste of time, but I think he is serving his purpose really well. And I do enjoy that he is part of the build towards this title match rather than it being another Inner Circle thing. It's more about Sammy and Fuego's friendship, and Sammy, what's he doing? He's like avenging him, sort of. He's gonna buy him a new car. Do you guys think? Because I think it's possible. Like, do you think that he's gonna win next week?
Sammy?
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. Like, definitely possible. I don't particularly want him to, just because I am living for the Miro reign, and I would like Eddie Kingston to come back round and get it on the second go. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sammy won.
Yeah, I think there's enough chance for Sammy to win that I'm going to be biting on the near falls. But I don't think he's going to be the one to take it from him. But I would not be surprised if he does, which is going to make the match just so much better.
Yeah.
And next up, we had the women's match of Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford. And I'm not going to lie, I don't have much to say about this match because most of it was during the commercial break. And when they came back from the commercial break, I was like, okay, now I can get into the match. And then it ended.
I swear this is like the second. I'm pretty sure in this feud, I cannot remember. Forgive me. It would have been last week or the week before, where two of the women in this feud between four were having a match, and it was the exact same situation where it might have been Anna Jay. The exact same situation where it was like 3 minutes of it was in the ad break, and you had about 30 seconds on either side. I don't know why they're doing that. Like, you could say that it's because the match wasn't that good, but like I can't say that as a fact because I didn't see it. I don't know, it's kind of strange, don't you think?
And also, like, the way the ending again was with the brass knuckles. We'd already done that, so that was boring. And I don't like that it seemed the match was to set up the dudes. And maybe that's just a bit nitpicky, but
No,
it seemed to
sorry.
like
It's got we got the tag match next week with the women.
we do, but like the ending of the match was like the Hardy family office came out, the Orange Cassidy and Chris came out, and we're doing stuff. But then I did like that apparently the Dark Order are now aligned with Best Friends as well, which is quite cute. And then it furthered like the Dark Order problems and all that. And it was disappointing because the match was so short and we didn't get to see much of it. But I am looking forward to the tag match. I hope they give that the time it deserves.
Yeah, it really did feel like it existed to have the Dark Order come out at the end, and like weirdly Orange Cassidy as well. Like I like the how AEW like incorporates a lot of people into the same storyline, but you do get moments like this where it's like Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander and the Dark Order, they're all faces, but I don't know why they're together right now other than they both hate the HFO, and I just feel like it was a weird mix of people. Even considering they're all goofy faces, I don't feel like Orange Cassidy really should be interacting with the Dark Order if they're not actually in a storyline together. And yeah, I really like the Dark Order breakup stuff. I do hope that next week we see some advancement, like real advancement in that storyline. It would be the perfect place to do it. They are in Rochester, which is of course Brody Lee's hometown, and we might be seeing Bray Wyatt. That's a rumor going around. But the match wasn't really anything more than to set this up, and the tag match next week, sadly.
Do you want them to like fully break up before they then reunite down the track, or do you want to see them reunite next week?
If I were booking it and I knew Bray Wyatt was coming in, if Bray Wyatt was guaranteed, I would have them almost break up, like that literally they're on the brink of splitting up, and then you have Bray Wyatt come out and he sort of brings them together, but in like a dark and sinister way. And then you have them sort of like they're together, but they're like all mad at each other still a little bit, but they're under Daddy Bray Wyatt. And then you have eventually have Hangman.
Sorry,
it's Daddy Wyndham.
I'm sorry, yeah, Daddy Wyndham.
Jacob, no. You can't just continue on after you just said on this live podcast, Daddy Bray Wyatt.
We're not live. We can edit that out.
Is that controversial?
Daddy Bray Wyatt?
I don't think that's controversial.
You think he's daddy?
Of course, he is daddy. He is a dad.
He is.
And if he
That's not
comes
what that
in,
means.
of
That's
course
not
that's what
that
it means.
He
Are,
is.
are you telling me
Nick
that?
Jackson's a dad. Nick Jackson's a dad. You
Yeah,
don't see me
Daddy
out
Nick
here
Jackson.
saying, Daddy Nick Jackson. No.
But I mean, you look at the difference between Nick Jackson and Bray Wyatt, and like if I was listen, if I was at the Pride Parade, which I often say, if I was at the Pride Parade and I saw Nick Jackson and Bray Wyatt standing there, I'd look at Bray Wyatt and say, that's probably a daddy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
True.
Look at him. Look at the man.
Here's
And
the
he's
thing.
gonna be daddy of the whole Dark Order.
When I go to the Pride Parade, if I saw Nick Jackson and Bray Wyatt there, neither of them would look out of place.
No.
That's true.
I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right.
I will just say no one would look out of place at Pride because that's what Pride is all about. And also Bray Wyatt is daddy, and also
shush your mouth. You stop that, you.
He's right. He's right.
Also, I would just like say at the Pride Parade, Matt Jackson is commandeering a float.
yeah, Matt
He's
Jackson
dancing
on the
up on the float. We love you, Matt Jackson. Give us your gender.
So yeah, as I was saying, Daddy Bray Wyatt would be the leader of the Dark Order for a bit until Hangman comes back and he's like, hey, you're being pretty mean to my friends, and he's, have them come and feud with Bray Wyatt. That's how I would do it.
Hangman's a dad. Would we call him Daddy?
Yeah, Daddy Hangman.
He's a new daddy too.
Yeah.
He just became one.
New daddy.
Congratulations.
Of course,
He doesn't have daddy energy.
Of course, we have Daddy Moxley, and we have Daddy Cody.
Okay, he does have daddy energy.
This is a huge point of contention on this podcast.
I mean,
Mox
hey,
has daddy energy. Hangman does not have daddy energy.
even in WWE, we have Daddy Rollins and Daddy Reigns.
No, not right.
Ew. Ew.
Daddy Reigns.
None of them have daddy energy.
Oh god.
They all have daddy
No.
energy, for they have
No.
offspring.
No, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. You can't just do that.
Big
That's not how it
dad
works.
energy.
Taz is the most daddy though.
Yeah.
Taz is
Oh my god.
He gets to be
He has,
daddy
like-
for Hook.
Yeah.
Oh. No. No. This is like, and I will expose myself on this good podcast.
Oh, please
This
don't.
is like when I said on did you say just please don't?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
I'm
did the
scared
audio
of-
pick up?
Scared of what you're gonna say.
This is where I expose myself on the podcast, but like I always make the joke of granddaddy Sting.
Oh god.
Yeah, no, he's daddy. He's daddy to Darby.
He is daddy, but Sting has daddy energy.
Yeah. And so does anyone who has a child and is
And then
male.
everyone
Sting does,
reminds me
then-
that
then
he's old.
Bray does. Bray
And then
Wyatt
everyone's like,
definitely
Sting's
does.
old, and I'm like, okay, he has granddaddy energy. Whatever.
Does Gorg have daddy energy? Is Daddy Gorg
No.
a thing?
No.
I mean, he also has a teenage son.
that's not how it works!
Yes.
You can have children and not be daddy.
Daddy Gorg.
Because, like, so Matt Jackson's a dad, and he does not have daddy energy.
No, we
He's also
covered.
not as big as Goldberg is. Goldberg is the size of like a fridge.
So we
Like,
need
Matt
we
Jackson's
need
calling people daddy, but he is not daddy himself.
before we go to the main event, we need to settle this. Is daddy energy based on what? Size? Facial hair? What does it mean?
Energy.
Yeah.
It's
So
based on energy.
what gives Sting daddy energy and not Gorg, our Lord and Savior?
Right? Explain.
Because Sting looks like he would be a sugar daddy. Sting has sugar daddy energy.
But we're not talking about
Gorg
sugar
walks
daddy.
out with like 10. He has like 10 bodyguards when he walks out of his locker room. He's massive. He's bald.
Okay,
He's got everything you need.
here's a
Yeah,
question.
but would you call him daddy?
Daddy Gorg?
Not personally, but I'm sure someone would.
No, because you could say that for anyone. But like, he doesn't have the energy of like you would call him daddy.
Here's the question. Dalton Castle. He's got his boys. Daddy energy or no?
Yes, Dalton Castle has daddy energy.
There we go. Then we should move
Who
on.
this is? Wait, let me see who this is first.
Dalton
Oh,
Castle.
this guy.
Dalton
Daddy
Castle.
energy.
No.
Big Daddy
No, he
Dalton.
doesn't. I'll say
you know
no, he
what?
doesn't.
I'm gonna walk something back. Nick Jackson does have daddy energy.
Thank you, because he's a dad.
Can we all like agree upon the fact that Bray Wyatt does have daddy energy?
Yeah,
Yes.
you know what? I'll say that he has daddy energy. It just took me by surprise.
Thank you. There we go.
There we go.
But
Problem solved.
But some people we've brought up here do not have daddy energy, like Hangman and Matt Jackson.
We need Seth Rollins has daddy energy. Let's get to the main event.
No, you can't do that. You can't just...
So next up we had. Oh, are we talking about the Mark Henry interview? That was great.
I'm just saying it's time for the main event.
Yeah.
Not that Mark Henry, not daddy energy.
Mark Henry, big daddy energy. So let's talk about this interview because one, I've enjoyed all of the Suzuki Gun promos just because hearing Suzuki speak and doing his Ichiban thing is amazing. Eddie Kingston basically going feral in this interview, trying to rip off his own shirt and being like, Mox, let's go. We don't want to do this interview. Mox, let's go. And Mox just continuing to do the interview every time Eddie Kingston goes, yeah, we're going to get out of here. We don't want to do this interview. And Mox is just like, no, I'm going to do the interview. We're here. And then it leads right into the match. They start Kaze ni Nare early to avoid any incidents, to make sure it happens, and the pop for Kaze ni Nare was huge in the huge arena. The pop for Wild Thing, I found it funny, and I found it awesome that they cut off Wild Thing, because Suzuki just started beating the shit out of Moxley and all of them. And this match, it was how I described it on Twitter, just a classic Suzuki Gun mauling. It's just Suzuki and Archer walking around torturing people. It was a lights out match, of course. Little Uzi Vert was in the crowd, obviously. And yeah, you had a lot of wonderful spots, like Archer just stacking up not young lions at ringside and tossing Moxley into them. You had just like some awesome, almost surreal exchanges between Eddie Kingston and Suzuki. Like that's something that you like, you know, of Eddie Kingston's love of the Japanese sort of King of the Road style and strong style and stuff like that. And then you have him in the ring with Suzuki, and that's just like, that's a really cool moment for him, but also for fans who know that aspect of his character. Yeah, what did you guys think of this match?
Sorry.
I was just gonna say. Oh no, you're okay. I was just gonna say. It was a bit messy, but it was always going to be messy. It was a lights out, almost death match. Good to see Mox back to his kinky self. He likes to bind and be bound in the ring. You know, he was loving that. It's weird because like what happened when I was streaming this match, just before this match, my internet died, and then so we initially missed the first good half of this match because it was me trying to fix my internet and like hook up my phone data, but we did go back and watch it, but somehow it just doesn't have the same oomph, I don't think, than watching it as it happens live. But it was cool. Like, Homicide showing up was a cool little bit for him, but I didn't pop that hard for it. And I'm glad to see Lance getting main event. I miss Jake. And I miss Jake.
I mean, oh yeah, where has Jake been? Jake hasn't been around.
He's been very sick. He's been in a
that's
wheelchair. And
Oh, that sucks.
He's very sick.
I haven't heard of this.
Sorry to break in, but I shouldn't be checking my phone during a podcast, but I've just seen that someone sent to our group chat, he sent a tweet saying that he's doing well, but thanks for the love. So that's good to hear.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
we love you, Jake. We love Jake. This is a Jake Roberts Stan podcast.
Like,
love Jake.
if ever there was a candidate for a light side of the ring episode, it's definitely Jake Roberts.
His redemption
man.
arc, because
There is a very sad episode with Jake Roberts.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We won't go into that.
Yeah, yeah.
he's been through some shit,
But
and
the
I'm so
redemption
glad.
of Jake Roberts and just where he is now is, it's,
Oh, I'm so glad he's in a supportive and healthy environment for him. And we say this every time, and I say this every time we talk about Jake and him getting better and him moving past his demons and all that. Thank God above for Diamond Dallas Page. Thank fucking God for him.
We love Jake here.
Yeah.
We do.
But enough of the niceties. We're talking about Homicide.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this match has... It was very clunky, but I think that's by design. It was very much so more of a Suzuki Gun pace where they're just walking around and torturing Moxley and Kingston. There was a point, because I watched this with my roommate, Archer was like beating the handcuffed John Moxley with a kendo stick, and then just like you don't even see Eddie Kingston, but you see like Archer reach out of the ring and just like smack someone down on the floor, and we were just like, oh, there's Eddie Kingston, because he's just out of sight and he's hitting him with a kendo stick. And then yeah, Homicide showing up, it's a great moment for him, especially in front of the New York crowd. A lot of love for New York fans on the show as a whole. The same week, WWE decided to post a video of all of the times where someone gets beat up in their hometown. AEW puts on a show like this. With Homicide now in the AEW universe, we are one Hernandez away from having the entirety of LAX in the canon. So hopefully we actually get something around that eventually with Santana, Ortiz, Eddie Kingston, Conan, Diamante, Homicide, and Hernandez. It would be awesome just to have them all together. Daisy, your thoughts before we get to the finish?
Yeah, so dare I say this, but this match was a bit of a letdown for me. And that is simply because AEW has such a history with their lights out matches where they make a point to space them out so much because they're a very special event. They're always very, very violent. We've only had maybe 4 in AEW history. And each of the ones before this have been hard to watch, but in a good way. You know what I mean? Like Baker versus Rosa, one of the best women's matches they've ever had. Very bloody, bit scary to watch. Obviously, Mox versus Kenny, terrifying. Kenny versus Joey Janela on Dark, that was also pretty terrifying. This one, to me, it felt a lot like it gave me... It reminded me of the Texas Death Match that Mox and Archer had in New Japan. Not this most recent one, even though they're quite similar as well. It felt a lot more like a regular death match, not a lights out match. Mm-hmm. And that is why I was a little bit disappointed. I don't think there was anything that scared me, which maybe that's bad that I'm looking for something to scare me. But a little bit tame, just a bit. The lights out stipulation wasn't really needed for this one. It could have just been booked as a regular death match because I feel like lights out matches are always very special. Unfortunately, I was spoiled for the Homicide debut because people on Twitter like to watch the show and then spoil it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get as much excitement out of that as I would have. However, this is kind of random, but one of Tommy End or Malachi Black's dream matches is against Homicide, so that'd be fun. Why not do that? Yeah, why not do that if he's around? Yeah, in general, it was good, but not what I had hoped for. And I did like the bit where I think it was Eddie put Lance's head in a bin and then whacked it a lot with a kendo stick.
Yeah,
at the end.
The finish to this match was definitely the best part, where you have Lance Archer's trapped in a trash can and almost continuing from where Eddie Kingston was in the interview with Mark Henry, just going feral and just beating his head in with a kendo stick in the trash can. He tries to break it over his knee and then over his head, and then he just said it doesn't work either way, so he just breaks it over Lance Archer's head. And then big win for Eddie Kingston over Lance Archer, someone who has beaten John Moxley, so the rule of transference Eddie Kingston has now pinned someone who has beaten Jon Moxley, which is pretty cool, in front of his hometown, which is also really cool. And it was announced just today that the next time that these two teams will meet will be in a Philly street fight for New Japan Strong, which I am excited for, because that's Eddie Kingston in a New Japan sanctioned ring.
Is that the first time in his career? It is, isn't it?
I don't know if there's some old stuff, but it's definitely the first time in a long time, if at all.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Growth of Eddie Kingston over the last year and a half, spectacular.
Oh, absolutely insane. He's one of the most beloved characters in wrestling maybe ever. Like, he's getting to like Mick Foley levels of being beloved by the fan base at this point.
Oh, he's great. He's so good. Is that?
Yeah, that's been our show. That's been the Triple Friends podcast. And if you enjoy the Triple Friends podcast, go ahead and give us a subscribe. And if you enjoy the people on here individually, why not you follow me at Salty Acob? That's Salty AYYYCOB. I'm newer, cooler, and edgier now because I just had my face reveal. So go see my face.
Yeah,
that,
and you're beautiful. You are gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm edgy.
We're a podcast of really hot people.
We are all stunning.
That's why you can see our faces right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. You can definitely see us on video. No. I've been Daisy. I hope you've enjoyed today. It's definitely going to be a longer one. So I appreciate you for sticking it out and listening all the way through if you did. You can follow me on Twitter at BoutMachines, BoutMachine with an S at the end. And yeah, that was me for today.
I am Tani, Twitter user at Hangman Pages, and once again, if I have to spell that out for you, I think you're at the wrong podcast. And somehow I survived this podcast despite hacking up my left lung every 2 seconds. And get vaccinated, assholes.
Yeah, and also just follow the podcast on Twitter at Triple Friend Pod without an S because of character limits. Yeah, get vaxxed, fuckers. We're out.